Big question here on Monday, February 24th, 2025. We want to return to the conversation that was started on Friday with American soccer entrepreneur Peter Wilt. And he brought up a fascinating question we want to dig into a little bit more. The big question here today, does the USL's plan for the Division I league go far enough regarding territorial rights? And Peter said they're essentially selling monopolies if it's just, per city. Where could we go with this? Do we agree fully that that's the case?
Let's listen to what Peter said to set this up, because we do have the clip from our conversation with Peter last week about because he brought this up without us prompting him.
Some great feedback coming in here, but maybe I'm missing it, but I have not seen anyone that's looked at the USL announcement and the USL vision and said, wait a minute, they're still not addressing territorial exclusivity, right?
Okay.
They're still selling monopolies and allowing one team per market. And that's not a true open system. I mean, the beauty of the sport in the rest of the world is that you derive the competition by having multiple teams in the same market.
So that was Peter Wilt. Again, we were talking about some of the things that have come up. Peter has started a number of American soccer teams and certainly knows the landscape. He wrote a manifesto on promotion and relegation in America. It's out there if you want to go find it. I don't know if Peter has like a link somewhere in his social media bios, but you can find Peter Wilt talking about promotion and relegation or writing about promotion and relegation. And this is an interesting thing, right? Because we go back to the announcement from USL that they want to launch a D1 league. And we all took that as, okay, wow, this is really interesting. What could this mean? Number one, are they in competition with MLS? Now, they've been pretty clear, and the messaging has largely come from Paul McDonough, the president of USL. But they've been pretty clear that they don't intend to directly compete with MLS. It's more like, a disruption play, a differentiation play. Hey, look, we can be another D1 league that can service smaller markets that don't have MLS, markets that can't seem to break into MLS, markets that can't attract a billionaire owner because of the numbers required to buy into Major League Soccer. We can be different. Now, we talked PLS, and they have to meet all the PLS standards, and all those things are still out there. And then we got to that, okay, what about promotion and relegation? Does this indicate that they intend to move in that direction? I'm going to pull in something here from Travis from the chat. On CBS, the president of USL said, Pro-Rel is coming after they establish a D1 league. Do you buy it? Perhaps you've already addressed this morning, just tuning it. So we have not addressed it yet. This is Paul McDonough talking over on CBS Sports Golazo with Jimmy Conrad and Charlie Davies.
Mm-hmm. He says the words.
Yeah, first of all, hi, Paul. We'd love to talk to you directly. I know we're not Golasso, but we're here. I've talked to Paul McDonough and USL plenty of times. I got an email out. Let's just say that. I got an email out wondering if maybe we can have a chat with Paul McDonough. He says the words. You're right. He says the words. I expressed my cynicism about this last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever we started talking about it, that USL has long sort of fainted in the direction of Pro-Rel. They brought it up. Now, what they do is the league office, like the league office brings up the idea of promotion and relegation. And, past presidents have brought up the idea of promotion and relegation. And those things are fine. You need to start somewhere, right? It's got to start somewhere. But what it fails to account for when they talked about it publicly is that it's not really up to them, right? It's up to the owners. It's up to the people who have money invested in their clubs. Andy here saying too many owners aren't on board with Pro-Rel. Unless the media rights money increases massively, they can dangle that carrot for years. If the owners don't want it, it won't happen, right? Go ahead.
I was going to say the media rights and the difference of the money at the different levels. I have heard arguments for both sides, like making the carrot big enough for that Division I level, so all the teams are working their darndest to get up the table. But I've also heard the argument of don't have the differences between the levels of it. So if you get relegated, it isn't the devastating loss to go from 100 million,
Right.
say, to 50. So I'm kind of curious. I mean, both sides, I could see both sides of the argument, and I'm not quite sure where to land on that just yet.
I've been distilling quite a lot of things recently about this, so I can't speak to the source on all of this. And my apologies to whoever was out there on social media, I believe, saying it. But there's certainly there's an argument, or there's a way to frame this as the differences in revenue and the money from the top level of a USL pyramid down to the bottom, or professional ranks at least, is small enough that you can't really say, well, the D1 owners will be so against promotion and relegation because if they get relegated, the money changes at the USL League One level. Well, certainly the money you spend on players changes. Whether you take a massive hit revenue-wise is a question. Of course, then if you're just talking about business, why would you want to be in the USL Championship and not League One if you're paying the players less, but the revenue's the same, unless it's just about, the prestige of being in the higher division. And there's something for that, right?
Yeah.
Now, this coming back to what Peter said, USL says we're going to do pro rel, or we have a plan to do pro rel. We want to do pro rel. Again, whether they can make that happen, as to Andy's point, based on the owners buying in, is a question. But Peter is saying, like, number one, I've already called this not an open system. It's not. I mean, if it's within USL and it's not linking up with other leagues in America, it's not an open system. Of course, that's on MLS as well, who doesn't want to be involved in an open system. They don't want their clubs to be relegated. They don't want to have that issue. They want to control everything. But if you're going to call it an open system within your structure, so USL, hey, we've got a D1 league now, USL Premier. Go watch our video on the name.
Yeah.
Somebody called me Jay Davies and called me a hater in our comments.
Jay Davies a hater?
They didn't like that I didn't like Premier. All right, USL Premier, USL Championship, USL League One. Let's just go with those three divisions now. That's an open professional system under the USL umbrella. Peter's saying if you are not going to open up territorial rights so that somebody can start a club in any market they want, regardless of that market is already occupied, it's not an open system, right? And I think there's a reasonable conversation to be had if the impact of that would be good or bad, right? Let's just take a reasonably successful USL championship team that has won a title, that has drawn fans, has flirted with MLS, Sacramento Republic. Sacramento Republic is a pretty successful USL championship team. And they're in a pretty sizable market for the league that they play in. Right? I think they're one of a couple of teams that would actually qualify on like all of the criteria for PLS or whatever. Yeah. They're building their stadium. If they get that off the ground, that's a thing. Would it be good for American soccer and for the USL if somebody said, you know what, I'm going to get some guys together, or I'm going to put some community money together, and we're going to launch a team in Sacramento, and we're going to enter at the bottom end of the USL pyramid, the open system. Now, nobody said if USL intends to link this to their amateur leagues. And obviously, what you're talking about, USL League 2, you're talking about college players, so probably not. So if you're launching a team in an open market, in an open pyramid system, and you want to go and say, go to Sacramento, or on the other side of town, by the way, didn't Peter say he has a team, a women's team that's playing in that area?
Yeah, I think
it was wearing the gear. If you launch that team, is USL going to let you buy in at the USL League One level for whatever that fee is, and then work your way up to D1? Would they be okay with it? And again, what if that undercuts Sacramento Republic? If now you are pulling dollars away, whether that's people buying tickets, people buying gear, corporate sponsorship, attention in town, because of how much oxygen actually is there to get the promotion you need. I mean, is that good?
It's another chicken or the egg sort of a question. Is the fervor for soccer so dense that it's localized to where, say, wherever Sacramento Republic is on one side of the town, and then the new group or club is started on a different part of town? Is soccer? I think it depends on the individuals and the region that you're in. It seems like what's appropriate. So maybe that might be annoying. So this hypothetical for Sacramento Republic, and then maybe there's a subsect of people that feel like that club isn't representing them hypothetically. I
Sure,
mean,
sure.
you shouldn't be, the rules shouldn't dictate that another team that feels they want to do things a different way shouldn't be allowed just because of overarching rules, while Sacramento Republic might be annoyed by that, and they might even force them to extend their hand to incorporate that other group
Well, okay.
somehow as well.
But this is again sort of like inherent in the argument of a promotion and relegation in the first place, which is a lot of people will say you need that. You need the threat of relegation to spur actual investment,
And
actual
the threat of
effort.
competition too, I guess. Then,
Sure.
I mean, would Sacramento Republic have to work harder to then be
Maybe,
everything
maybe.
for their city?
Now, in a case like Sacramento Republic, I would have no concerns about that club folding up shop because they've been threatened by another team in the market. I think Sacramento Republic could be fine. Now, again, whether that means like, oh, well, we're not bringing in as much money and we can't pay the right players and now we get relegated and now that's a problem, I don't know. But again, history, American soccer history is littered with dead clubs. And I
Yep.
think it's natural to fear that anything that could potentially hurt a club's bottom line could potentially see the end of that club. Now, there have been lots of other reasons that clubs have died that have nothing to do with competition within their market from another soccer team. Sometimes it's the lease goes bad, or it's the owner was never really committed in the first place, or whatever it might
What
be.
was
Like,
the number that Peters said on Friday? 180 clubs or something like that have gone down since the PLS started?
yes, right. And so the argument about PLS is they're not doing enough to protect clubs from dying anyway. Why even bother with them? If we're just going to have dead clubs on top of dead clubs, then open it up and see if that creates a different scenario, whether the results might be different in that regard. And I suppose that would be the argument about a truly sort of open system within USL that allows new clubs to pop up in places where there already are clubs. That, protectionist kind of policy is tricky to begin with. I mean, economically, and we're dealing with it as a country right now, right? We're dealing with this as a country. The idea of like, should we do what we can to protect our business interests within our own country, or should we do more to promote competition by, opening up the market and the free market? And I don't love. There's a principle here thing, and then there's a reality thing. And the principle thing, it seems pretty clear. There shouldn't be a reason, right? Again, like if 5 guys from Detroit want to get together and launch a team, they shouldn't have to go. Again, Peter would like the PLS to end that high net worth individual element, so that people like the guys in Detroit can launch their team, go professional, not have to worry about selling out to somebody else or bringing on a silent partner or somebody who could have control over the club because we just own this together. That would be nice. That's one thing. That's a principal thing. The other principal thing is, again, the marketplace. And like, why should I have to go look for another market or go find a millionaire in some other town to launch a team when I could launch one right here? Now, I might still have to check a bunch of boxes when it comes to stadium and infrastructure and bonds and those kind of things. But why shouldn't I be able to do that? And obviously, this does not address, I mean, when Peter brings it up, it's about USL. This does not address any territorial issues that might exist between leagues, right? MLS has their territories, right? MLS is not going to launch a team in, I'm trying to come up with a good example. They're probably not going to launch a team in San Francisco, right? Because there's a team in San Jose. And because the owners of the Quakes would say, wait a second, that's not cool. You're infringing on my territory, and this will hurt my business. And MLS will think, okay, well, within the structure of our business, with our investor, the owner of the San Jose Earthquakes, we don't want to undercut them. We're not going to let another MLS team launch in San Francisco, right? But if the USL launches a team in San Francisco, MLS can't say anything about that. So should US Soccer rather have any role in this? Now, if you're on the USL side or the lower division side or the anti-MLS side, you're not going to want US Soccer to step in and say, no, you can't put a team in that market because there's already an MLS team there, because that feels like it's advantaging the big boys, the team, the group that already has the money and the power, and then is bullying everybody around. But if you're on the other side of this, you're like, wait a second, MLS, What do you, where there's already teams here. Why are we doing this thing where we are cannibalizing each other, which is, does have history in MLS, in American soccer rather.
Yep.
Why should anybody be allowed to cannibalize any marketplace? But US Soccer doesn't have any real standing here to dictate that part of how soccer operates. They're already on shaky ground with PLS, which we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
right? The NASL didn't win their lawsuit, but it wasn't because PLS is fundamentally wrong or anti-competitive. I think there are lots of arguments that it is. It's because they didn't prove that they weren't also incompetent, and that really worked against them. So when we talk about what U.S. Soccer can and cannot do, can U.S. Soccer really come in and tell any business, and MLS is a business, and USL is a business, and NISA is a business, and say, you can't do that thing because there's already a team from another league, another business. You're not going to tell, and I know that the anti-MLS crowd will love this, right? But all these teams are franchises on some level. If there's a bunch of McDonald's in a town, there's no like restaurant authority that can say you can't start a Burger King in that town. There's already a bunch of McDonald's. Like that's not allowed. That's a McDonald's market. You can't put a Burger King there. Of course, no one could say that. That's not how any of this works.
That is not how America works at all. Keep your comments coming in here about this topic. Want to hear everyone's input because it is an interesting time for, thinking about the structure of the American soccer landscape. USL really has, perked our interest and curiosity of what is possible and what their plans are really moving forward. You can write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. If you've got something a little bit more thoughtful than just something in the comment section, feel free to reach out. If you want to talk about your soccer district or nominate someone to talk about your soccer district, reach out and write us an email. If you're a disruptor, you have a contrary opinion, a different way to go about this, write us a note. We'd love to hear all the different
If you want to talk about
takes.
territories or franchises or PLS or any of those things, please reach out.
Yep. And then once you reach out, also hit the subscribe button. It's maybe even easier. Click that button. We are in the 900s on our way to 1,000. We'll have to do something special. Hitting the 4 figures will be a great benchmark for the program. So be involved to be the next one to do so. And then if you have a little bit of money you'd like to throw at the show, keep us or make us a sustainable program. We've got getting our feet under us, and now we're on the move to become a sustainable program. One way to do that, ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. $5 or a little bit more or something regular go a long way. So we'll be back on Wednesday, it looks like, and plenty of soccer to take in from now until then. So until next time, thank you for tuning into Morning Kick Around and enjoy your soccer.